Activating your mindfulness through your senses. Over the past semester, we've learned that cultures and religions have an overlap in their beliefs. I focus on the way various religions create a subject through the senses, exemplifying the ways one can obtain knowledge through their senses. The purpose of this exhibition is to guide the viewer through different ways in which the senses can amplify one's own experience with religious art. Now, I will further guide you through the exhibition. This is a personal exhibition which allows the viewer to experience all of the pieces by themselves. As the viewer enters the Rubin Museum, they walk into the lobby and are faced with a spiral staircase. At the bottom of the staircase, the viewer encounters the first object on display, an incense burner from the Han Dynasty. It seems as if the burner is on, as the entire lobby is flooded with fog coming from a fog machine the viewer can't see, which is located on the lower staircase. There is also incense being burned to activate the sense of smell. As the viewer approaches the object, they see the representation of water waves which allude to a story of an island where mortals used to live, showing humans' obsession with immortality. This island would disappear whenever humans came close, disappearing in the mist and the fog of the sea. I've chosen to start the exhibit with this piece as it is also tied with the opening of the Silk Road, which came to be the network of trade between various Asian cultures. But in this case, this object becomes a link between humanity and nature, as it is through smell that the viewer is able to enter the exhibit and connect with the mysteries of nature through the fog. The viewer continues the exhibit going up the stairs into the second floor. Arranged throughout the second floor is Janet Cardiff's piece, the 40-part motet, which consists of 40 individual speakers arranged in groups of 5 speakers, one group each for soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, and bass. As visitors wander among them and progress through the work, they hear each distinct voice and also experience different combinations and harmonies. A visitor can stand in the middle of the staircase and hear all of the voices as they unify into one musical piece, or move close to an individual loudspeaker for an intimate experience with a single voice. The speakers continuously play an 11-minute reworking of the 40-part motet Spen in a Loom by Tudor composer Thomas Tallis, which translates as "In no other is my hope." The sense of hearing has been activated through this motet. One might even feel as if the music is liberating, a sensation similar to when the Tibetan bell is played. While one is searching for the mindfulness of the body and the mindfulness of feeling, sound helps the body enter that state through the vibrations that are entering the body. As the viewer walks up to the third floor, they encounter the elevators. In front of the right and left elevators, 2 mannequins with bird masks stand, one on each elevator, leaving the middle elevator clear. There is a sign that indicates the viewer to press on the up button. Only the central elevator works, and after the viewer presses the button, the elevator rises from the bottom floor to the third floor, and when it opens, the reliquary stupa resides within it. The viewer has activated the reliquary stupa with a sense of touch by calling the elevator with their finger. The viewer is bringing the stupa to the third floor as an act of elevation. The reliquary stupa is physically rising, but it is also metaphorically a representation of the ultimate state of the Buddha. It represents the ritual of circumambulation through its shape and is meant to hold the body of the Buddha. Therefore, the body of the Buddha is elevated by the viewer through the sense of touch. This reliquary stupa is also guarded by these 2 mannequins with bird masks. Both of the mannequins have a thunderbird mask. This headdress would originally be worn by a dancer towards the end of an initiation ritual. The dancer would put this headdress on to symbolize the return to society. By placing these two mannequins next to the reliquary stupa, I give them agency to bring back the Buddha into society. Therefore, not only is the viewer bringing the Buddha back by calling the elevator, but these two masks are also returning the Buddha to society. These two mannequins are acting similarly to a bodhisattva. The bodhisattva gives the practitioner hope that he will be accompanied through his journey, and these two masks are accompanying the viewer through their sensory journey in the museum. As the viewer continues to walk around the third floor, the walls are all covered with striding lions panels from the Ishtar Gate. The Ishtar Gate was built under the rule of Nebuchadnezzar. The size of the gate showed that Nebuchadnezzar had the power to build these massive and impressive buildings. The color are key, since the gate would have been in the middle of the desert, and having the shiny blue and yellow golden colors would create a sense of power and wealth when the sun reflected its rays upon the glazed bricks. 120 lion panels were created with those glistening bricks. The friezes were 3 meters high and decorated with 60 lions on each side of the gate. Each lion, 2 meters in length, was made up of 46 molten bricks arranged in 11 rows. Having that amount of lion panels would be overwhelming to anyone who walked through the processional way. A person would feel the lions were overpowering them in a sense. Not only did the quantity of lions evoke this feeling, but also the realism of the pose in the head, the gaping mouth, body, legs, and tail, which characterize this production as a climax of Babylon art, created a sense that the lions were being controlled by the king himself. They were placed in such a regular position that when walking through the procession way, you would feel overwhelmed by 110 lions that were controlled by the king. The procession way was thus making people feel in favor of Nebuchadnezzar, showing if he can control ferocious animals, then he must be able to control everything. It would be impossible to fit 120 panels in the museum, but just by having a few of them, the viewer is able to feel that sense of overwhelm as they are walking next to these lions. The sense of sight starts making the viewer feel overwhelmed, but with just a few of them, one is able to feel empowered by these lions, as if they are walking along with you through the path. Just as the bird masked, they become companions for the viewer on his path. On the opposite side of the elevators, down the 3 small steps, resides the mirrored altarpiece, the triptych of the Annunciation by Robert Capin. This triptych depicts the Archangel Gabriel coming to tell Mary that she will have God's baby. There are layers of symbolism across the panel, such as the lilies representing virginity and water representing purity. Also, the commissioners are shown to the left. The scene being depicted is argued to be before Mary is told about her Immaculate Conception. In front of the altarpiece, there is a small table with a chalice with red wine. The viewer is meant to drink from the chalice in order to activate their sense of taste. The drinking of the chalice represents the manifestation of Jesus. Therefore, the triptych represents the moment before Jesus was born, and the wine in the chalice represents the resurrection and manifestation of Jesus. This display mode brings into question the idea of what happens to a holy object, such as sanctified wine, when it is brought into the museum space. Is it still divine? The wine that would be served in the chalice would not be sanctified, but it would be alluding to that act. The viewer would be able to sit down on the cushioned step and drink from the chalice while contemplating the mirrored altarpiece. The viewer would end the exhibit walking into a completely white room with nothing on the walls and just a white cushion in the center of the room to sit. This would be a space where the viewer can sit down and think about the ways in which they have used their senses throughout the exhibition. The viewer would exit the exhibit going down the elevator along with the reliquary stupa and walking out the gift shop as the next viewer is allowed to walk down the steps into the smoky lobby.